Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 374. Today is Saturday, June 19th, 2021, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is, coming at you from a lovely late morning, early afternoon knit session in Pacifica, in which the sun was shining and I could see the ocean. And now I have returned back to San Francisco, where the fog is, making me look very white. Details. Well, sitting here with my, my Cheracont camouflage sweater. As you do. So, in exciting news this week, I did end up wrapping up the repair on my high-low hem v-neck boxy. I still do need to give it a block or a steam or something to like really smooth it out and have it be just right, but overall I am so much happier with how it ended up turning out. And it is very cozy for these chilly, foggy days, for sure. I think, what would it be? It's maybe a little warm. It's 63. I brought it with me so I would actually weave in the one end I had. I actually ended up with probably like, I don't know, between a yard to half a yard of leftover yarn from the bind off. But me sitting here, you can't actually see the full majesty of it. I'm wearing like a black t-shirt underneath, but that's just because I'm trying to wear all my t-shirts before I decide to sort through and cull them. Be like, if you have holes, you're going, because there's not room in the dresser for that nonsense. There's always room in the dresser for sweaters. Because priorities, guys. So I think with a little block, it will be perfect, but it's pretty good right now. So, and I still have stitch markers in there, but like there is like a little bit of distortion and bubble there, but that's something that I think blocking can fix. But this is high-low hem. It's like trying to like come in. So what would it be? And it is pretty deep. Like that's definitely quite a bit of extra fabric there. So it's entirely possible I could have even done a little bit less and would have been fine, but didn't know that at the time. Maybe I will reclaim it once again in the stash in the future. Reclaim it in a stash in the future and just take the high-low off entirely. It's a distinct possibility. I wouldn't have to rip back as much as you do. So I ended up changing a couple of things about it. So the first thing that I did was I'd knit my high-low hem, and then I'd got into how much high-low I wanted, but the front wasn't quite as long as I wanted it to be. So I knit straight for a little bit, then launched into the ribbing. So what I did this time was I ripped back to where I began the short rows, knit 2 inches straight, then launched into the high-low hem, and then once I ran out of my blue yarn, launched into ribbing. I think that looks better. So we shall see. I was secretly scared that I was going to run out of yarn, which is why I did the high-low hem, but then I ran out of yarn. It's going to be an interesting challenge calculating yardage for this. Probably starts with weighing it, and I may need to actually use a different scale in order to get something, and then I'll have to like figure out proportions or something like that. Because yeah. I'm not sure that my stash totals for this yarn are hyper accurate. Because I ended up, it was the case where I bought most of it at David Obi Fiber Fest, but I ended up picking up an extra skein at the LYS, and then I picked up an extra blue skein at the LYS, and then I picked up an extra silk cloud, the mohair silk, at Stitches West a few years ago, so a year and a half, whatever. So, boxy, high-low modification complete. Really happy with it. Pattern is by Hoagie Locatelli. Would it be most of the magic ends up happening up here. The rest of it is very simple and straightforward knitting. And then this is knit out of Shibui Knit Silk Cloud in the Abyss color, and then Shibui Knit's Pebble in the Blueprint and something else. It's been a while. Have to look it up. So not too crazy in the grand scheme of things. So it's very cozy. It was a little borderline when I put it on because we were knitting in the backyard of the Royal Bee in Pacifica. So it was a case where it was I'd like threw it on and I was like, ooh, this is a little warm, but then like the wind would blow and you're like, no, I was just fine. And then the wind really started to blow and I was like, okay, this is a really great sweater for the area. So it's warm like worsted weight, but super light. So it should be good. It was like a little bit dangerous because there was like so much more mohair floating around because I had frogged it, so definitely got like mohair in my pie, and it was really obvious because black mohair just like makes its presence known. So I'll definitely be picking out some mohair and lint balls off of the pair of shirts I was wearing towards the end. But I don't think in day-to-day wear it'll be super sheddy, but who knows. But really glad to have that done, but I do need to sit down and calculate stash yardage. This is going to be, it feels like it's going to be my last knitting FO for a while, because my other two projects are pretty far away from being done. Like, they're getting closer, but they still do feel pretty far. So there's that. But excited to have this recovered. I probably should have blocked it when it was so cozy. I actually made it up to 81, which is very warm for San Francisco. But it'll be okay. So it'll be entertaining getting all of the mohair out of here. But yeah, no, in terms of leftovers, it was really, see, my leftovers ended up getting tangled in my keys, and I put my keys away. That was silly. But it wasn't a lot of leftover, so hopefully I'll be able to put together at least a reasonable calculation. Like, that'll be fine. There's like something that you can end up doing with like ratios and grist to get something pretty close. Basically you're balancing, you weigh the whole thing and then you balance like the yards per gram of the black and the yards per gram of the blue and gray, and eventually it all ends up working out in the end. So I just need to sit down and actually work that, which I didn't have time to do before. Would it be starting? I had time to make coffee. That's about it. But it did, and like it was a pretty decent amount of knitting, but it was not too bad to get through either. So what has received most of the rest of the love this week, which honestly I'm gonna have to do like a quick repair because I went to put it in my bag and then the last couple of stitches fell off, and that's no fun. So I am knitting the What the Fade, which is an Andrea Mowry pattern, out of Stranded Dyeworks Merino Singles in a bunch of different colors. There's like a bit of a brown up there. Yeah. So this is a pretty straightforward pattern in the grand scheme of things. It's honestly, I've now taken to calling it my shawl of endurance. Just because, what would it be? It's just that it's getting to be pretty sloggy at this point. So I do know that I have crossed the halfway mark on it for sure. Maybe what's less clear to me right now is where the end really lies exactly, because I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily discouraged, but I am a bit bored. I think that is the best way to describe what's going on. So it was a pretty small little boo-boo, so that's not too crazy. But would it be? I was definitely complaining about a bit knitting. It's like, I think I get away with this many. So I had decided at some point that maybe I was going to sort of do like a little bit of a transition in between the 7 increased blocks of solid color, and do like a 6 increase block, and then do like 5 or 4 or something like that. But I think what I'm going to stick to is doing 5. And that isn't what she has in her pattern. So I'm just going to have even blocks of 4 color rows and 2 color rows until I reach the end. And it'll be very exciting when I reach the end, but I'm not there yet. So I have, what would it be? I'm working on the Ice Skating Party, Naive Watercolor, Orange Tabby, and Firecracker fade. Then I will have the Naive Watercolor and Orange Tabby section. Then I will be fading Blue Rinse, Patisserie, Orange Tabby, and Naive Watercolor. And then I'll have a solid section of Blue Rinse and Patisserie. And then I'll bind off from those colors. So 4 more sections to go, more or less. Which probably translates to a pretty decent amount of shawl left in it. But definitely past the halfway point, so that's good. So this is my cool side. So you can just barely, whatever, we can bring it closer. You can just see that I'm starting to bring in sort of that tealer blue at the moment. And I think it's gonna look reasonably balanced. So the Blue Rinse fades really, really nicely into the Naive Watercolor. And it doesn't fade quite as, whatever, the fade is a little bit more obvious with the Ice Skating Party. So I don't think it'll be a big deal on like the final thing. So if it turns out that I run out of the Blue Rinse early, it won't look too unbalanced if that is the case. But that would mean that I'm awfully close to using up all 600 grams, which is a bit of a dare. But I don't know, there's still a pretty decent amount left of this. So I used like 15 grams, I think, sort of in that the first 2 sections of this. I'd used about 25 grams of the Naive Watercolor and Orange Tabby in the first pass. So the only one that might be a little shy is that I have pretty much exactly 50 grams of these. So I don't think I will be using all of it. It'll probably be from outside because I was outside. So it will probably be the case where I will have a decent amount of leftovers, especially of my warmer colors because I won't bite off from that. But not so much of a fade. Not so much of a fade here. But it does look lovely and nice. And then blue side, which will probably be the one that I wear out. And then you end up getting like the subtle hints of the colors beneath it, so you definitely get rainbow vibes off of the shawl, which is cool. I really do need to get it onto a bigger needle, so I may need to swap tips and get it onto this bigger guy, just because it's now getting to the stage where it's big enough where it's very crowded on the needle I have it on right now. So if I had extra room, I think it would go a little better. Yeah. It's a little bit dangerous right now. Oh yeah. Like I'm trying to, yeah, it's yeah, I'll get another, I think I'll get like at least another foot or so. So I'll probably end up doing that this afternoon, but I'm now in a more exciting place. Like I just sort of had to slog through that single color section because I was just over it. It will be worth quite a lot of yards for Stash Dash. It will be really lovely. I'm not too worried about what's going to go down. Should be fine. But yeah, no, I think I have the 4s on here. Yeah, so I have US 4s. I still haven't taken the 3mm off from this project actually. I think that was what I last had it on. But yeah, no. So I could understand now where Andrea Mowry tried to mix with the pattern by adding garter, but I'm also like okay with the fact that I'm okay with the fact that I did want to keep doing brioche. It was just the point at which I stopped wanting to do straight up brioche was much sooner than I was anticipating. But whatever. It's probably going to get quite a lot of love in the coming weeks. And I'm pretty happy with how much progress I managed to get done on it. So I'm not too concerned about it. It will get done and we'll make it work. I'm definitely, what would it be, excited about the colors that are coming back around again, so it'll be alright. So what's unclear to me is if I've even worked on my square at all this week. So this is my more interesting project right now, my spicier project, but like not really because it's still comfort knitting. So I'm making a square version of Sizzle Pop, which is a Leslie Ann Robinson pattern, which I'm knitting out of my Vomisa DK in black cherry over-dyed feld mouse, because I didn't want to have brown yarn. It still smells like Kool-Aid 7 years later. So I'm not sure I knit at all on this week. Oops. I minimized myself away. I could probably see. I normally minimize everything before I start. That should be close enough. Just so like weird computer glare is less. Not like it's too crazy right now. We have the softest soft light fog can provide right now, guys. So, not, or would it be? It'd be the case where I do, like I've basically memorized this pattern at this point. It is brioche lace, so it's like a little spicy. like I have a marker hanging out over here, which would maybe imply I'd gotten maybe this far in it, but I'm not sure. I'm not too worried about it. So this will be, I don't know, it may be the case where I end up just letting it sit for a little while I work on the other British project, or who knows. It's cast on, it's moving forward. I might sit down and wind the rest of the yarn and actually give it like a proper project bag. I don't know, I'll dig around in the stash and my stashual project bags and figure out which one makes most sense. But yeah, no, so there's definitely quite a lot more knitting to go on this, for sure. But I am excited about the pattern. I'm excited about how it's turning out. I do like this leaf motif quite a bit. At some point, I should branch out and do other things, but I'm not too worried about it. Definitely have quite a bit left of this 100-gram ball, and I have 440 grams to go after I do that. So I think that's also why I started focusing on the What the Fade, because I was pretty sure I had less than 400 grams to knit on the What the Fade. I don't know. Maybe might be a little bit ambitious saying that I was actually at the 50% mark with the What the Fade. So we're now getting into the Would It Be. When you're thinking about like what knitting projects will I be finishing before the end of August, you're like, if I start something new, I may not be able to finish. Like, I'm certainly very capable of getting through all the spinning projects I decide to do, but the knitting, it may take a little bit longer. So that's the story there. It's not a Would It Be. I feel like the odds of me casting on something new are pretty low right now, unless I decide to cast on the Fog City hat, which is apt because we are talking about fog today. June is the time for fog, for sure. And really I have been doing very, very little spinning, which I'm surprised about, but I'm just gonna go with where the mojo leads me. Basically my wheel is sitting right here in camera range. It's actually a little bit off because it is interfering with my laptop a bit. Well, the laptop's been moving back and forth depending on my zooming needs, so I don't think I've done anything. And honestly, it's a pinker purple than it's shown up on screen. Let's see if we can't bring it in. It's like, will you focus on the majesty? Yeah, so you can see some of the orange there, but it is a little bit warmer of a purple than it's showing up. Like, it's definitely Would It Be. Like, if dead center is like a pure purple, it's probably a warmer purple than I would normally select for myself. And part of that has to do with the magenta that's in the fiber, which you can't quite see. Like with the fruit salad project that I recently finished, and with this layered bat project, what it would be, so this is 50% merino, 50% alpaca mixed with 80% pulver, 20% silk, and there's a whole linear percentages that it has now become because it was 6 ounces of the merino alpaca and 4 ounces of the pulver silk. So it's going to be very fluffy, it's going to be very warm, it's short forward draw, so that's going to tamp it down at least a little bit. But like, the reason why I've been doing a lot of spins like this is because it's sort of like I'm doing these massive samples. So in the male box right now is my Romney fleece. And the plan would be to actually make layered bats like this and to would be, and set it up so that I end up dyeing the Rodney in appropriate proportions of colors depending on what I'm going for. And so I'm getting used to working with this style of fiber prep and color handling so that I sort of know what to expect when I do the full-on sweater spin. Now I'll probably have to do a lot of weighing and figuring out and stuff like that, but yeah, so that's where my head is right now, is like I want to get used to spinning stuff this way. So this will likely end up being a 2-ply. I tried it with the 4-ply. I thought that was very delightful. I should knit with that yarn. It'd be the case where I need, like, I'm practicing building bats in this way, in sort of a very repeatable, very structured sort of way, which, even though it's very repeatable and structured, the colors and how they turn out is much more random and organic. So it's a way of making something that's repeatable but still random, because I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. As you do. But all of my blurple is just sitting out begging to be spun, but I think, would it be? It may be the case where I end up wrapping up this project before I start that spindle project. Who knows? But I was waiting until at least the 20th of June because Mars of the Hey Brown Prairie podcast is doing a spindle along. So I may end up starting with that, and then I just need to decide supported or Turkish. It shouldn't be too crazy. But then I just stick all of my nests into my little spinning bag and go to town. So I think it will be a lot of fun. It might be the case where I decide to do Turkish just because, since I am combo drafting it, I'm not so sure about my skills of combo drafting and support it at the same time. I'll have to maybe play around a little bit because it has been a while since I've done one supported spindle project. So it's okay. So would it be? And I am proud of myself because, like, slowly but surely the stuff that is outside of the stash on that top shelf is slowly but surely disappearing. My rainbow fiber that you're seeing here probably will never end up in the main stash, but who knows? It maybe will fit at some point. And I'm keeping that around mostly because it's good blending material. But who knows, maybe I'll be inspired and actually make a proper project with it. But primarily I'm looking at it in terms of, like, raw materials, creative stuff that I can play with at any time. So it's not too crazy. I have to laugh a little bit because it was so hot. We ended up moving the windows, and this is the best room for the straight shot through the house breeze. And definitely had, like, tumbleweeds of little batlings, like, rolling through the house, and all of the yarn labels, and I think it would be the case, like, yeah, no, maybe it is time to throw some of that away. So I should just get my spindle project all bagged up and ready to go. But yeah, I think the other thing, I will also need to empty up my little gelato container. So that's the only thing about, like, the Turkish projects, is that you also have to have, like, protection. So you have to have a container to protect your spindle in, and then you pad it with the fiber you're currently spinning with and go on your merry way. But it is exciting to be in a situation in which I do need a travel project again, so that's exciting. Not too bad. Ended up eating inside the restaurant for the first time in a very long time, so I can't quite remember which one was the last visit. It might have been dim sum, which, to be fair, that's definitely on the list of things, which is much more delightful in person. But got to have Thai tea and a banh mi sandwich and ODP. So whatever. Nice to have those experiences again. As you do. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things going on, but yeah, not too much excitement around here, which is fine. Probably gonna have to do a quick drop into the grocery store to pick up a couple of missing items and then continue on my merry way. Now, maybe it'll be the case where I can just combine it with a walk. It seems like I can probably get some tortillas at the grocery store at the bottom of the street, and then that is an excuse to walk at least a little bit. I'll just have to figure out which way I end up breaking on that one. Now, it sounded like my husband just had a burrito now, so it could be a long time before he needs more burritoing. As you do. But yeah, no, not too much craziness here, so I'll have to report back next week as to what yardage I end up calculating for this. Pretty sure it's more than 400 grams, so it's going to be slightly challenging. Pretty sure I don't know, I'll weigh it and I'll see, and it'll be fine. But it's not too crazy. I'm okay with it being quiet for at least a little bit longer. And then there'll be very exciting bike riding that's happening tomorrow. And whatever. Should be good. I'm just babbling now. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.